Okay, so guys, can you hear me, please? If you can hear me, confirm, because we've started the live stream and I have shared my screen. If you can see my screen and can hear me, please confirm.
I can hear you. I can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so we are going to go on ahead, right? Hoping that others will join us as we proceed. Okay. So we have been able to establish a connection between our front end and our back end, and we've even gone ahead to make our back end even more useful. We've gone ahead to make our back end even more useful by uh, making it redirect a request to another page. So we went from index.html, which is our home page. From there, we were able to get to our reviser. Why? Because our form is already connected to the reviser, and the moment we got to reviser, we redirected it to members.html. Okay, so that is what we've been able to achieve. Okay, so but the reason, if you remember where we started from, right? I made mention to us that I made mention to us that please, sorry, I need to, someone has been calling me. So if you remember where we started from, where we saw an entire web page had coded into Java code. I told you that was back practice because if you look at the folder structure, uh, if you look at the folder structure, you will realize that there is a separation of concerns. Web pages should be here, then uh, this front end should be here, back end should be here. So it doesn't make sense to really bring in front end things into back end and back end things into front end. Although there are exceptional cases where you may want to do that, right? But for a start, you need to learn how to do things right, so that if you ever have a need to be able to do the other things, you can do them. Okay. Now, what we want to do here is that we are going to make our members area much more functional. Okay, take for instance, we I would like to make our members area show maybe something like an account balance. Okay, we'll make it show something like an account balance. So but this account balance, we are going to send it in from the back end. Okay, so let me use something like a H5 to achieve that. Okay, so in this H5, I'll say your account balance. Now, there's something I am going to um, do here. Um, if we are going to, if we are going to make use of, if we're going to make use of, if we're going to, please, can you mute yourself? So, if we are going to make use of um, any kind of input from the backend here, and that backend is powered by a servlet, and the backend is powered by a servlet. Okay, and so there's one other technology I need to introduce us to, and that is known as Java Server Pages. Java Server Pages. A Java Server page is like a wrapper around HTML. essentially is an HTML page, but what it does is that it helps you manage interaction between front end and back end more efficiently by introducing some special tags that are not part of HTML, right? It's a way of extending HTML to make it capture certain kind of Java functionality. Okay, so that's a Java server page. Instead of having .html, we'll now be having .jsp. Okay, so I'll just remove this content. I'll delete this members.html page and replace it with members.jsp. So let me delete this quickly. Then we'll come back into our web pages and create a new JSP this time. So if you do new, you're going to see JSP. If you don't see JSP, click on Other and you find JSP there. So let's click on JSP. We'll say members. Okay, we'll do finish. So NetBeans will also be kind enough to generate some code for us that we can quickly begin to use. But one thing I'll remind us to this, for us to go back to our reviser and change where we have members.html and make sure it's now showing members.jsp, right? So now in our members.jsp, we have we want to be able to, so let's call this, the title still remains members area. So we'll have something like okay, let's have just something that will show the person's name. Now, see, there's a new kind of tag I'm going to introduce there. So watch this, very important. I'll use a $sign, a pair of curly brackets, okay? Then I'll put something there, name. So watch how useful this is, okay? So that thing is not part of HTML. That's actually a JSP tag. Okay, so let me use a H5 and do something like balance. What we just did now is that we have created a placeholder for any value that is coming from the backend. That placeholder, this is the placeholder we've created. And so this placeholder will look for a value that is coming from the backend, and the name of that value is name, right? And in the second case, it will be looking for another value coming from the backend that has balance. In fact, it is called attributes here. Like we are looking for attributes that are coming from a request attribute that is coming from the backend that we call name, and another request attribute coming from the backend that is called balance. Now remember that it is this reviser, which is essentially the backend, that will forward the user to the members area. The user does not know that members.jsp exists. Okay, so it is the servlet here that is managing this navigation. It is the servlet that is managing this navigation. And so what we are doing here essentially is that we want to be able to display the person's name and the person's balance. Okay, no, but there's something else we have not done. Remember that our index.html here is just sign up. So we're going to create another page that will also do sign in, right? So this sign up, so we're going to do confirm password. This second one will be confirm password. So that would be, this is password 1 and this is password 2. Okay, now when the person signs up here, in fact, let me put this in different lines. So that tag I just used now is known as a break tag. It separates things into various lines, into new lines. Okay. Now, this is our sign up form. So I'll create another form that will be our sign in. Okay, then um, let me put up a link here that will direct to our sign in page. So our href, this is where I specify the link. So I'll just say signin.html. All right. So did I teach you guys connecting to databases in our last class during our Java class?
No.
Hmm. Hmm, 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 hmm. Because that would require me teaching you databases. Okay, that would require me teaching you databases. So what we are going to do is we would not talk about databases. So what we are going to do is to hmm, hmm. Okay, so let's see whether we can use files to simulate. In fact, some people also use files to as a means of storing information, right? So let's use files, because if I have to teach you databases, this is a database environment. Okay, this is a database environment, and if it would take us a lot to be able to uh, introduce you to databases. In fact, databases is a class on its own. Okay, so it's not something we can just quickly do in a few minutes and be done with it. So um, rather, let's make use of files. I've taught you how to make use of files. Okay, so let's use that in holding our stuff. Okay, so we are going to create a file. We are going to create a file, and then we would hold I don't know whether that would be complex, but let's do it so that when the sign up is done, okay, we can easily deal with certain things. So this is form, our form that does the sign up. So when it comes to revise, as you can see, I added a third parameter that is password too. So what we are going to do here is to also ensure that we retrieve that password too. Right, password too. I changed the name, so that will be PSW2, then PSW. So what essentially we are going to do here, watch this logic. If password dot equals password dot equals password2, then proceed and sign this person up. Else return that person to the home page. Okay, so let me do something like the string URL equal to index.html. So that's URL, that's our default URL. Okay, so if the password dot then it means the first thing I will do here is to say you take the person to the sign-in page. Because the person would have been, I would have successfully signed up. So take the person to the person sign-in page. Else, do nothing. Like you're returning the person to the home page. So here I'll change here to URL. So we'll now be using the URL to manage where we are directing the person. So this is the logic here. When we come in, we create a URL representing our basic, there's our default page where we want everybody to be redirected to. Okay, we're using that URL variable there to represent where we want everybody to be redirected to. Please mute your mic. And so the moment we come in here, we create a URL variable and we say this is our default page, index.html, and then we collect all the parameters we want to collect. So the first thing we did here is to check if this password is equal to password 2, which means the person correctly retyped the password. Then we are going to begin our sign up process. Else, and that sign up process means that we are taking the person to the sign in page when we are done. Else, this is the page the person will be taken to. So because let me clean this system.out.println line now, because this guy here, line 37, is what does the redirection from this reviser or any other page, and we are forwarding it to anything that is inside this URL, whether it's index or whether it's a sign in or whether it's members area. We're going to come to the members area. Okay, so whether it's members area, index or sign in, then please forward the person there. So that's our concern for now. So but let's do the logic for sign up. So if the password is correct, so what we are going to do here is that we are going to say file password file equal to new file password file dot text array password file dot text. Okay, so we import our java.io file. Okay, so now that we have that, for us to write anything to it, then it means we would have to create this file. Okay, because as it stands now, we've not created it. So we'll do pf dot create new file. So once we have created that password file, the next thing we are going to do is to bring in a file writer that will enable us write the information like the person's phone number and password, right? So we'll say writer equal to new file writer. Okay, so we've done a class on how to make use of files during our Java class. You can refer to your notes or ask those who were in class then, or maybe do some reading online to get a hang of what we are saying if you don't understand it by what I'm explaining now. Okay, so with that writer, I can begin to say writer dot write. I want to write something what are we writing this time around? I'm writing the person's phone, comma, no, underscore the person's password. So that's the way I want to save it in this file. Phone and password, phone and password. Okay. Then I'll close the writer. Okay, so now that we have done this, if we run this, we should see a file that will be created for us that is called pf.text with the person's username and password, that's which is the person's phone and password. Then when we are now signing in, we'll just attempt to make use of that file to sign in the user. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So let's test this and see whether a file will be created with our password and phone number inside. Okay, so let's go back to our test page, and then okay, you can see how this thing got separated, but let's add spaces there. Doesn't look quite nice yet. Let's just add some spaces. So go back to index.html and make it okay. So let's see what we have here. Alright, so that looks a lot better. Okay, so this is our sign-in form which we are going to be using after sign up, but we've not created the sign-in form, so let's go ahead and do that. So let me copy what we have here. Okay, so for signing, we are only going to need a phone number and password. So I'll remove this confirmation here and change the button here to sign in. Okay, so that's our sign-in page. We have our members area and we have our revisor. So, but let's test whether this guy will actually create a password file for us. So let's refresh this and then put a phone number, password. Let's use let's use 111. Then confirm password 111 and then sign up. Okay. Okay, why is it taking us to sign in? It's taking us to sign in because okay. That's actually what we asked him to do. We asked him to take us to sign in if password is equal to password 2. So that's what it actually did. It now redirected us to our sign-in page so that we can sign in. Okay. And so, but what we are going to do first is to confirm whether that sign-in was successful, whether that sign up was successful. And how we do that is to look at the folder structure and find out whether this was done. So let's look at NetBeans projects, let's look at revision, and let's look at source. Java, core, revise, and nothing is there. Nothing is there. Hmm. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this is a server, so you may have likely created it on the server. You have likely created it on the server. I've likely created it on the server. So let's head to the server location and see whether we are going to find what we are looking for there. Okay. So where did I install Glassfish? Glassfish. Oops. Let's look at our tools. Come to servers. Glassfish is at okay. Users, SAC, Glassfish server. Okay, so let's head there. Users, SAC, Glassfish server, bin. Nothing is there. Glassfish domains, domain 1. Then config. So, okay. Guys, can you see this PF file here?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where it created it. It went and created it in the server instead. Because remember that your web application does not have direct access to your system. It has direct access to your server.
Okay.
And so that is why it's created it in the folder structure of the server. Okay, and that's the PF here. So we can open it and see whether we have anything that looks like a phone number and then quadruple 1. So let's open and see. Okay, so if you are looking here, you will realize that the phone number and the quadruple 1 was indeed added. So which means that code that we wrote worked successfully. Okay, so what we are going to focus on doing now is to implement the sign-in page. Right, the sign-in will also go to Reviser. Now, but here is the problem. How would our Reviser tell that the front end aspect that is calling it is sign-in or index? Okay, because if from index I click on, because what essentially people will do is to create different servlets for different front end pages. That's what some people do, but that's not very efficient because you're going to see yourself managing a lot of files. You see yourself managing a lot of files. So if it's a very self-contained project, then you don't need to do that. So what you essentially have to do is to add a hidden text on each of the front end pages that will be calling that your servlets, and give each of these forms a name. So like here, I want to call this form on the index.html. That's the sign up form. I want to call it sign up. So I'll say that the name of this particular parameter will be origin. Okay, so that when I get to the backend, I'll just pick the origin parameter and say, what's the origin of this request? It will now tell me, okay, is either the sign in or is the sign up or the whatever. Okay, so now the origin for this one, the value is sign up. So that way from the backend, but I'm going to make this guy hidden so that my users cannot see it. Because if your user can see it, then it doesn't make sense. It will distort the overall stuff you're trying to convey to your page. So this is hidden because it's information for your consumption only. Okay,
You
so
wrote, sir,
okay,
you wrote sing up, not sign up.
oh, thank you. So this would be sign up. So that way I can tell where this is coming from. So I'll go back, I'll go to my sign in page and do the same thing and make sure that on that part I'll specify the origin. I'll specify the origin as sign in. That way, in my backend logic, I can distinguish where these requests are coming from. So when I come to my backend, what I'm going to do to enable that functionality is to say, please, when you come in, the first thing you should extract for me is the origin parameter. Okay, extract the origin parameter for me, and that is what essentially we want to do. Okay, and so I'll say request dot get parameter, and the parameter you're getting is don't know who changed my keyboard layout. It's now using UK layout. Okay, so what I'll get the origin parameter and save it inside my origin variable, so that down here I can now say if origin dot equals if origin dot equals sign up, then that is when you come in to this place. That's when you're going to perform line 36 to 44. Else, if that same origin is equal to signing, then what you'll be doing ideally is to do anything that we put under here. Okay, so this way I'll be able to use one servlet and manage multiple requests, manage requests for multiple pages. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to implement my sign in functionality. And what do we want to do with sign in functionality? What we want to do is to say we are going to we are going to read our file. Remember that, in fact, because we now have multiple pages, we can't be extracting data anyhow. We can only extract data that is required for a particular page. So you know that with our sign up page, we are extracting three things. So we are going to ensure that those things are extracted just within the sign up functionality area. Okay, so that we don't generate unnecessary errors. So and for our signing, we are extracting just two parameters, which is phone and password, and that is exactly what we are going to do here. Okay, so the logic here is this phone and password we have extracted from the front end, right? We need to compare it with what we have on file. So, but remember in our file, the way we concatenated the phone and the password was that we said phone underscore password. So I'll do the same thing here. I'll create a new distance, say string credential equals to phone plus underscore plus password. Right? So I'll now compare whatever I'm going to get from the file. I'll now compare it with credential. So, but let's go ahead and get things from the file first. So, remember we use our scanner class to achieve that. But with our scanner class, we also have to bring in the file handler. Okay, so say scanner. In fact, do I really need to do this? So let me say string file string saved credential equal to. So I expect that we will survive what I'm about to write now. Okay, so I need to import the scanner class. So now that I've read in what we have from that class, from the saved credential, I'll go ahead and say if credential dot equals the saved credential, then it means that this person is a genuine user. So this is where we will now navigate the user to the members area. So I'll just change the URL to members.jsp. So we'll do this. This is where we are going to pause and then test before we come back and add additional functionality. Okay, so members.jsp. Okay, so let's run this test quickly and see what we are going to achieve. So come back here. Okay, so let's look at this localhost revision. Okay, so instead of sign up, we will now go, because we've signed up already, so let's go and sign in. So I'll use this phone number, I'll use this password, then I'll sign in. Okay, fine, let me use a wrong password. Let me do it in such a way that so that we can be sure that this thing actually worked. Okay, so let's say else take us to see what we are going to do. Else, since the person is on sign in, right, the person is on sign in and the person entered the wrong password, a wrong credential, and what we'll do is that we will return that person to our index.html so that the person can sign up, because at this point we are assuming that the reason the person entered wrong credential is because it's not a member yet. So we'll return that person to index. So we'll say the URL here would, okay, yes, so it's still at index because it was already at index before the person came in here, so we don't need to do anything. It will definitely return the person back to index. Okay, because the only time it will change the URL to members.jsp is if the credential is equal to the saved credential. So let's continue our test and see what we get. So sign in. Away. We used correct information. Sorry. We used correct information. So let's say, let me use the wrong phone number or correct PIN and then sign in. Can you see it brought us back to the index?
Yes, sir.
So because the reason it brought us back to the index because it read the file and the information we supplied was not the same. So if we go back to sign in, then use the correct phone number and the correct PIN and click on sign in, it will bring us here. But if you notice in that if you look at the title area here, you see that we are the members area. But that's one good thing with our redirect. It doesn't expose the page we are currently at on the URL. It doesn't expose it. So that is why if you're on some bank site, you notice that you remain on one URL, you'll be navigating many pages, you're still on that one URL. Okay, so it adds a layer of security to what you're doing so that people can really guess what page that the user is currently at. Okay, so now, but if you notice that this thing just showed name and nothing, balance and nothing. So let's go to our members area code and see what is actually going on here. So if you look at members.jsp, you realize something. You see that we just have name placeholder here and balance placeholder. And so, but because we did not supply a name and balance information from our backend, that is why that place is empty. So let's go to our reviser and supply that information. So come down here and say request. Please, we are setting an attribute inside you, and the first attribute we want to set is an attribute known as name. So, and the name we want you to carry is to say Bariswa Ada IG, and then set. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Uh, so, and we'll set the attributes as this balance this time. Balance. We'll set it as, let's say, 3,500. Okay, so let's change, yes, balance. So if you look at this, what essentially happens here is that the request objects that we are forwarding back to this page, this members area page, we are adding some attributes inside that request object so that when it gets to the members area page, you can now extract those attributes and display them to the user. And we called it name and balance. And so what essentially happens is that when this page loads, it will look for an attribute called name, another attribute called balance, and display the contents here. And so let's go back to our page and let's check out these things whether they are working. So let's click on yes, this, then sign in. If you look carefully here, you're going to see that that name we embedded from the backend is now showing here. And so if you ever visit your bank and you open and log in and you want to see what your account balance is, this is essentially how it is done. Okay, now, but the difference here is that this information, right, would have been retrieved from the database and put here. Now, but because we have not learned databases, I can't begin to do that logic here. It's going to take our time. And if you notice, we have just about 10 minutes or 11 minutes to wrap up this session. And so this is how far I want to bring us on servlets for now. So if you are going to be patient with me and come back again by 6 p.m., then we are going to do another 1 hour. But this time around, we are going to be pushing APIs. Right? We are going to be looking at APIs. Okay. So please, let me have a 1 hour break. We'll come back and then we'll look at APIs. Let's see how different APIs handle things. But essentially, what we've discussed here is, in fact, we've shared key knowledge today. If you can build on use what we taught during the Java classes to build on what I've shown you here, then what you can build is limitless. Honestly, what you can build is limitless. So now, like I mentioned to some of you that were here in the first class we had, what I was talking to you about, the templates, is what I want to show you now. If you have the money, please get it for yourself. It's very, very useful. Now, Bootstrap is a CSS framework, okay, very popular CSS framework. So, but the guys behind the Bootstrap framework, they have gone ahead to develop templates that people can use. Okay, so very sweet templates. Like look at something like this. If you wanted to build something like a hotel, if you wanted to build something like an e-commerce dashboard, right? If you wanted to, in fact, there are many templates here. So like my students here, okay, this is like a school website, a school platform kinda. So IJ, assuming you wanted to give a CUN portal a facelift, make it look much more modern or appealing, and then maybe you can get this template. It goes for $49, which is about 49,000. Okay, some of my students they started putting together 2,005 each to be able to get this template. So if you're interested, I think they need about 2 or 3 people to join them. So if you want to join them, fine. Please contact me so that when the moment they get the templates, I would share the file with you. Okay. So that what you essentially be doing is that each of these templates, what you to be assuming you're working on, let's say something like this. So you already have the home page that will do this. Imagine what we are building. Just imagine what we are building. This is our own page. It doesn't look nice, right? But somebody has already built something that looks as nice as this. So all you need to do is to connect it to your backend. Your backend will be well written. You focus on working on your backend because that is what you've spent your time learning. So all you are now doing is copy a page like this, edit it, and then with all the beauty it has, just be connecting it to your backend, and you before you know what is happening, you've built a wonderful thing. This is a chatting application. Okay, so and it's not with what with this, you will just focus on backend, and nobody sees your backend. If your backend is ugly, nobody can tell. So, but people can quickly tell when your project is ugly because they are seeing your front end. And so that's why I'm encouraging us to get into this, and it will really help you at the end of the day. And so, guys, let's take that break. 1 hour, 6 p.m. We'll come back and see what we can do. Thank you. Any quick question?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
None from my end.
okay. All right, so let's come back by 6 p.m. and see how far we can push this.
Sir.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Hello.